It's been 7 long months since Rockstar Games released the first trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6, and in that time, the community have come up with some of the worst theories I have ever seen. I'm talking Trevor shows up and curb stomps Jason within the first 10 minutes.
Who the f*** are you speaking to? Who? I'm talking to you, huh?
And you know, I just want to say, whoever came up with that theory, never cook again, because that is arguably the stupidest thing I have ever heard. Anyway, for every bad theory, there's probably about 5 good ones. So I figured, what better way to celebrate that than to come up with the most unique, never seen before, never done before video idea that there possibly could be. That being a tier list. Now, I'm pretty sure we all know what a tier list is, so I'm not going to bother explaining it. Anyway, I'll stop yapping. Make sure to subscribe. I've actually never made a video like this before. I tweet on Twitter, so go and follow me over there. Anyway, enough yapping. Okay, so the first theory that I want to go over is probably the most popular one on this list. That being that Jason is a cop, and throughout the whole story, he's secretly working against Lucia, and at the end he'll betray her, and you know, you can kind of imagine what it is. I mean, the guy literally has green cargo pants on in the artwork. I don't think Rockstar are this stupid. I think it's way too obvious. And for that reason, I'm going to put it in D, because I hate this theory. Jason is not a cop. And if Jason is a cop, I will delete any single social media I have ever made, and that is a promise. And I want you to hold me to that, because I promise you, he is not a cop. He is not a cop. Theory number 2. Lucia has a baby. And this theory isn't really a theory. I mean, this has been leaked. And to be honest, I'm really on the fence with this theory. I think it has potential. I trust Rockstar. I think they could pull off this story. I'm just trying to think about what they could even do with it. Like, let's say that Lucy has a baby. Not a child, a baby. And she abandons it before she goes to prison. Like, I don't know what they could really do with that. It could be very emotional. It could be very hard-hitting for a lot of people. But I don't know. I think it's very, very dependent on what they do with it. I don't really know how that works with Jason. Like, is Jason the father? Does he meet Lucia? I don't know. So for the uncertainness of this theory, I'm going to put it in B, because I think it has potential, but I don't think there's enough there for me to be like, oh wow, that is the greatest theory on earth, you know? Coming in next is probably my least favorite, and I know I just had that huge crash out over the Jason theory, but this one I despise. I think it's terrible. I think anybody who believes it is an idiot. And that would be the third protagonist theory. In the leaks, I'm sure we've all seen them by now, the leaked videos that were leaked like 2 years ago, there was mentions of this character called Kai, and people theorized that that character would be the third protagonist to go alongside Jason and Lucia. I think this theory is stupid. I think that this story is Jason and Lucia, and a third protagonist maybe could work if at the end that, maybe the Jason is a cop theory is true, and at the end, Jason betrays Lucia, they both die, whatever. Maybe Lucia kills Jason. I don't know. That's waffle. But I just don't think there's any truth in this theory. I don't think we'll ever see a third protagonist. I think this game will be Jason, Lucia from start to finish. So for that reason, I'm going to put this in D. Coming in next, we have the theory that Lucia starts the game in prison. Now, this one I think could work. I think opening up the game with Lucia in prison as opposed to going to prison could work. I think it offers a lot of potential for a tutorial. Like, imagine having to fight somebody in prison, or imagine if Lucia opens the game in prison, Jason finds her or meets her in prison. I think there's potential there. I don't think it's the greatest theory in the world, but I do think that if Rockstar played their cards right, and of course they've done this before with GTA 3, kind of, Cloud starts the game in prison, Tommy Vercetti gets out of prison at the start of the game in Vice City. So I do think they could do this, and I think it could work. But it's not my favourite theory, so I'm going to put this in C. I think it's better than these two. 100% better than these two, but I do think Lucy having a child has more potential. So for that reason, it's going in C. Next, we have Stephanie over here, who of course is in the trailer. One of the only characters that we actually know about aside from Jason and Lucia. Anyway, this next theory is in relation to the ankle monitor that we saw in the artwork. This of course tells us that at some point in the story, Lucia is going to get out of prison and go on probation. This has led to some people theorizing that after she gets out of prison, the player will be limited from exploring certain areas of the map. Now, I do believe that this is incredibly likely. They did the same thing in Red Dead 2 with the whole bounty system. If you remember, the player was locked out of New Austin and West Elizabeth until you play as John. So I do think that they could do the same thing here. But honestly, I don't know how this would really work, because of course, as well as Lucia, the player will be playing as Jason. So I don't really know how that's going to work. Like, obviously, Lucia will be on probation, but then how does that prevent Jason from exploring these areas of the map? I don't know, it doesn't really make much sense to me, but I'm sure that Rockstar could include this in a way that, you know, makes sense. I'm not a game dev, so I don't really know how I'd implement this, but I do think that this is a very strong theory, if you can even really call it that. I mean, it's kind of confirmed, but I'm going to put this one in S, because I do really think that it's going to happen. I just don't really know how, and I'm sure the specifics will be perfect, and they'll work it out, but, you know, I'm excited to see what they do with it, because this is going to be such a huge map. If you haven't already, I recommend going and checking out the mapping project. It really is incredible. I think the map right now is theorized to be, like, over twice the size of GTA 5's map, maybe even more. So I do recommend going to look at it because it is very interesting, and you know, Rockstar, they are cooking. So I really do recommend having a look and just seeing for yourself. And this next theory actually really caused some controversy back when the trailer first released. You may remember that there was this discourse about who this girl was. She was referred to as Bikini Girl, and people really thought, well, some people thought that this was Lucia, and other people thought that it wasn't, and it was just some general NPC. Now, I've included this one because I find it quite funny. Personally, I don't think it's Lucia. I think the similarities are there, especially with these moles, but I just don't think it's her. I just think that, I just don't see how it would be her. Like, this isn't Lucia. Lucia wouldn't be at this fancy party with this fancy bikini on. So I don't think it's a bit of fun though. So I'm gonna put this one in like A, because I really did enjoy seeing people argue, and people went insane. Like, people really got defensive over their opinions on this one, and I just thought that was very funny, so I thought I'd include it. Coming in last but not least is the theory that at some point in the story, Jason and Lucia are gonna betray each other. I kind of touched on this one earlier with the whole cop theory, but this one is more broad. It's kind of like a, you know, think of the end of Red Dead 2, you know, how the gang all splits apart, that kind of thing. Personally, I really don't want this to happen. I think that would be terrible. I want this story to be Jason and Lucia die hard, ride or die from start to finish. If the game ends with Lucia being like, Jason, you were a cop this whole time? Yeah. I'm sorry, Lucia. I'm a cop. Trust. I'm going to be really disappointed because I really want these two to be ride or die from start to finish. I want this couple to go down in history as Jason and Lucia, the couple who began their crime journey together and ended it together. Or maybe they don't end it, maybe they just become these criminal masterminds. Either way, I think if Jason and Lucia betray each other, I just think it would be a bit cliche. They've done this in basically every game. Like, if you think about it, GTA 3, betrayal. GTA 4, betrayal. GTA 5, betrayal. Red Dead 1, betrayal. Red Dead 2, betrayal. You get what I'm trying to say here. You know, they've done this so many times. I just don't want to see it. I want this to be new. I want this to be fresh. I want this to end in a way that nobody is expecting. So for that reason, I'm going to put this in C. Because, like I said, I don't think it's like, oh my god, this is terrible. But at the same time, I just don't want it to happen, you know? I think if they did do it, it would be amazing. And they would do it really well. But I want something fresh, you know? So that's why it's in C. Not a bad theory. That's just my thoughts on it. So that's the end of the tier list. I do apologize that there aren't like too many. But I mean, we have one trailer. So, you know, I scoured way too many Reddit posts and read some of the worst theories that I've ever seen. So I didn't want to include too many of those. Like, I already included the bikini one, and, you know, I don't want to go too overboard. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe. Like I said, this is my first video doing something like this. So I would really appreciate it if you could just subscribe. Also, go and follow my Twitter, because I'm very active over there, and I'm trying to get to 10k for the end of the year, so I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, that's about it from me. I don't really know how to do an outro. I've never done this before, so I just hope you enjoyed, and subscribe, follow, all that jazz. Goodbye.